Hello and welcome to the Local Leaders Podcast. I'm your host, Jeff Johnson. The Local Leaders Podcast provides a platform for successful business owners to share their stories, their experiences, their advice, and their ideas in order to help our listeners achieve more success in their business and in their lives. Get ready, another great show is coming up. Hey, good morning, everyone, and welcome to our after Christmas week of the Local Leaders Podcast. We're here today and excited to have our listeners back with us, and really excited to be able to talk to Isaiah Pitchford from the 507 in Mankato, Minnesota. Welcome to the podcast, Isaiah.
Appreciate it. Thanks for having me.
Hey man, we like I said, we're really stoked to have you on and learn a little bit about you guys, yourself, and the business. And I guess with that, I should just kind of give you an opportunity to tell us a little bit about the business and your involvement in it and kind of how you came up through the ranks, which I thought was pretty cool.
Sure.
So I'll just turn it over to you for a few minutes, Isaiah.
Appreciate it. Yeah. So the 507 is located in Mankato, Minnesota. Mankato is a little bit of a college town, about 60,000 people. We've been open for a little over 3 years now. We opened up kind of off of a branch of a food truck. So my partner, Steve Wegman, and a colleague of his opened up a food truck, and they ran that in the summer of 2018. Food truck went pretty well and created some buzz around town, so they decided to open up a bar. The bar was opened up in October of 2018. I came down there as a general manager, as I've worked with Steve and a few other of his locations. And kind of from there, I was in grad school at the time. I was coaching with the track team, and I had just graduated my undergrad, so I wasn't really sure exactly what I wanted to do. Started to buy in a little bit more into the 507, kind of take things into my own hands, and then month after month, quarter after quarter, things started improving. And I've actually been in ownership now for a little over 2 years. So things have been going well. We're a patio bar. We do lots of fun events, sports, deals, kind of everything in between. Realistically, we try to focus on, the food to keep bringing in the older demographic in Mankato. There's obviously lots of families there as well, but then we try to, spice things up as the week gets closer to the weekend. Night gets a little bit later, and bring in those college kids as well.
Yeah, that's that way you're covering kind of all your bases and reaching, as much of the population as you can. Let me just ask you, I think I mentioned a minute ago, I hadn't been to Mankato before. How big a town or city is Mankato?
So there's Mankato, and then there's North Mankato. North Mankato is super small, and I personally think of it all as one. It's just really separated by a bridge. But there's about 60,000 people. So It's nothing too crazy. But it's kind of surrounded by a lot of rural areas, with very small towns, where some of those towns actually travel to share a high school and whatnot. So they think of Mankato as very big, just based on where it's located in the state. So
yeah, hey, I'm familiar with that. I live just outside of Greensboro, North Carolina. It's a pretty good sized city. I think about 300,000 maybe. So pretty good town, but we're in a surrounding area. Some might call it the suburbs, which is a bunch of small towns. And if we want to really go out for something good and different, a lot of times we'll head into Greensboro to do it. So
for sure, definitely.
Yeah, it sounds like kind of the same thing with you guys. You got folks coming in from the surrounding areas.
100%.
Yeah. Well, what a nice journey, man. You pretty much came right out of school. So you're graduating, you're going into grad school, and you get this job and get this opportunity. And have you, just curious, are you still in grad school, or did you kind of take it full time to work?
Yeah. So I got ownership that would have been February. So it was right at the end of the first semester. The second semester had already started. and I knew I didn't want to drop out. I didn't want to just leave. So I finished the year just in case, backup plan. If anything happened, I could go back and still be in academic good standing and whatnot. But
Right.
I don't see that happening. So.
Well, I tell you, you're getting the best grad school you can get
Right.
by having, a stake in a restaurant and a business. And I never made it to grad school, but got through college and thought about going back a couple of times, but I like making money too much.
You and me both.
I know
Right.
we gotta make a living out there, and it's it's something to be able to be to be a part owner in a business and have all that responsibility. And hey, how many employees do you guys have?
We have 31 employees.
Wow.
That's between front of the house staff, so bartenders and servers, and then we have cooks in the back of the house,
Yeah.
a couple dishwashers, and then a few bouncers for the weekend.
Yeah, nice. Gotta have those big boys and girls to take care
Exactly.
of the crowds, right?
Right.
Yeah, I like the patio bar concept too. So you got inside and outside seating, I guess, for for food and drink.
Yep, you got it.
Have y'all got any of those igloos out there for the cold weather?
So we did. We were actually the first. I think we might have been the only place in town that did them last winter. I saw them while I think I was in Chicago when I first saw them, and I was like, whoa, this is perfect. Even despite COVID regulations or anything, this is just, added seating through the winter months. I think we either have to find a different way to execute, or Minnesota might just be too cold, because they were getting so thin to where they would rip almost anytime they got touched. So this winter we haven't done them. Obviously, it's the beginning of the winter, so we still might pull them out. But again, either Minnesota might be a little too cold and windy, or we got to find some different ones. So
yeah, no, I wasn't even familiar with those until a couple of months ago. I had a guest on that talked about doing the igloo thing, and I'd never even heard of it. So it was new to me, and it's not that cold in North Carolina, but it still would be a good idea for a lot of people over here in the South, because the winter is cold enough
exactly
to support it. So what a great way to kind of market the business. And
yeah, it was perfect. It was perfect timing too, because the time that I had kind of stumbled upon these, Minnesota was only operating for outdoor seating only, and so we were one of two businesses in town that even were open for dining. Everyone was doing takeout. A bar down the street had a little fire pit and a small patio, so they were kind of promoting to, bring your blankets and dress warm, and we'll serve you hot chocolate. And then I was like, hey, let's go get these igloos and let's just have people, dining as normal. So
yeah, and you can serve them something besides hot chocolate.
Exactly right.
That's awesome. What's what's the menu like with you guys? Are y'all a particular style of food or anything like that?
It's definitely American bar food. We have, Phillies, we have street tacos. Our big thing are sliders. So we have burger sliders, chicken sliders. We try to get a little creative with that. We have grilled cheese sandwiches that come with, pulled pork or buffalo chicken or whatever on the inside. And then we've recently added these thing called Fat Boys, and they're these big 10-inch hoagies, and we just toss everything on top. So you get, maybe you want, a cheeseburger or a steak Philly or whatever, and then we load it up with cheese curds and French fries and all sorts of craziness.
Oh man, that sounds good. Making me hungry already.
Right?
Yeah, that's one of my favorite types of things to eat and enjoy when you go out for a couple of beers or a cocktail, I guess is the right word these days.
Right.
Down here in the South, sometimes we'll just call them liquor drinks.
Liquor drinks, I like that. I think that with me.
No, I have to get fancy every once in a while and pull out that cocktail word, but
right.
Hey, that's awesome. So, coming right out of school, kind of back to where I was at earlier, and becoming, having a stake in the restaurant. I'm sure there was a learning curve there for you of some sort. You want to share maybe any specific challenges or things
Yeah,
that you had to kind of go through to get up to speed and get it where you wanted it?
for sure. I mean, there's definitely still a learning curve I'm going through. Um, like you said, it's really the best grad school. It's just the experience and just going through it. But
Yeah.
I mean, there was times where, I was on YouTube learning how to make a certain drink or Googling, hey, what are certain promotion ideas that can make these days and times of your operation hours busy, um, through, tracking labor cost and, food and liquor costs and all those kind of things, how to correctly schedule, allocate enough hours to the kitchen, hours to the front of the house to make sure it balances out and make sure that you're fully staffed and giving out good service. Um, I would say realistically, every aspect going into it, aside from communication skills, and I played sports in college, so there was a few leadership style things that I could carry with me, but all of the hard logistics of running a restaurant I had to learn on the go.
And were you kind of, I don't want to say thrown to the wolves, but did you have anybody on site really helping? Was your partner involved much in the day to day, or did you just kind of have to take it and roll?
Sure. So I had been working for him at his main location for about 7 months before the 507 was opened. And that was ran a lot differently, just because him and his wife, like I said, that was their main restaurant. So they were very present. And it's kind of easy to see how they did things and kind of fall in place and know what the expectation was and things like that. When he opened up the 507, his partner wasn't a restaurant background guy. So he wasn't necessarily involved in the day to day. He did a lot of the build out, laying out the patio and all that kind of thing. Whereas Steve came in and he was in the kitchen for the first few months, kind of getting it up to speed, kind of getting me familiar with where things go. And this is what we're gonna sell. This is the vibe we're going for, that kind of a thing. And once things kind of got comfortable and kind of taking care of themselves, we had a full staff, we kind of knew what we wanted to do. Then he went back up to his main location, kind of focused up there, and kind of just gave me the rings to put my own twist on it and just take it to where it is now, I guess.
Yeah, and just make it happen, right?
For sure.
So I would imagine, being a younger man, building your experience and all that kind of stuff. I'm thinking you mentioned you were a coach in the past, and you were a ball player or played sports as well. So to me, that gives you a great deal of experience, so to speak, in helping you kind of manage your staff and work with your staff and coach your staff. So tell me a little about kind of how you leaned on the on that sports background.
Yeah. I guess for me, all the way back back to middle school. For me, I always wanted to be the best athlete possible. I always wanted my team to be good as well. So I didn't want to just be, the super good kid on a really crappy team. I always wanted to kind of bring my team with me. So I used a lot of that, and I used a lot of concepts that my better coaches have instilled into my teams, whereas whether that's, reward for great performance or just creating a culture that wants people to buy in. So my biggest thing is creating a work environment that my employees can buy into. They can see the vision, they can see where we came from, where we want to go, and they feel valued and know that they're a part of taking it there. So my big thing is, if we have good quarters, I might throw them a party. I might give them certain perks that other places in town don't give their employees. Just things to make them feel a part of the team. So it's not, hey, this is Isaiah running the show and he's just telling us what to do, and then that's what we do. I don't personally enjoy working in an environment like that, and I would imagine that no college kid would want to do the same thing while they're trying to experience the best years of their life either.
Yeah, that's a good point. It's and all of us with restaurants have have the younger folks typically working front of house, back of house, and everywhere else. And it just, I never really thought about it before until you mentioned that coaching and sports angle. But that does give you a lot of great experience in team building and being a part of a team and, creating a culture of winning.
Right.
And, I could see how actually in recruiting and things like that, for any of our listeners out there who are looking for, managers or GMs or supervisors or whomever, that's a great background to be able to give people opportunities that are coming from that, because you can bring all that team building kind of concept right into your restaurant. So good for you, man. That's awesome. I'm glad to hear you guys have done well. Now, one of the biggest obstacles restaurant operators, owners have had, since COVID has been the staffing issue, since we're talking about people and all that. So has that been a major hurdle for you guys since COVID, and how are you dealing with it?
Yeah, I can honestly say, and I'm very grateful for it. We have had, I would say, close to zero issues with any sort of staffing. Every now and then we might have, a few bouncers that are out of town. I don't like to keep on a whole bunch of bouncers because our bar is not huge. It's not a big club, so we don't need 8, 9 bouncers walking around. I typically have 2 or 3, depending on how busy I'm expecting the night. So I don't want to keep a whole bunch. So if 1 or 2 are out of town at the same time, it can get a little busy. So we might, reach out to somebody and say, hey, you got a friend or somebody who's interested in bouncing, let's give them a shot. But other than that, when it comes to service, cooks, anything like that, we've had close to no issues. I will say I probably have a little bit of an unfair advantage to some of the other places in town. I have 2 younger brothers, and one of those younger brothers has a girlfriend that work for me, and they do a lot of the work, a lot of the bulk of, the hours during those tight times. They help me out. So I'm a little lucky there, but even that aside, we've had almost no issues in terms of labor.
Yeah, that's amazing. And now, have you been able to keep your labor costs where you expected them to be?
Surprisingly, yeah, I was a little worried this upcoming summer, just because we've been voted the best patio in town. It's the only patio of its sort. So pretty much all restaurants in town kind of have, like a back door or front yard patio, concrete with like a black gate around it. Whereas ours is in our back. It's a double deck patio with an outdoor bar and turf laid down, super colorful. We have lots of live music. So I knew the summer was going to be hectic, especially with a handful of new employees coming in, kind of fresh off that really tight restriction COVID year.
Yeah.
And I was kind of worried it's going to get a little wild, but the staff did really well executing, knowing when to leave. If they had some cut work or things to do at the end of their shift, getting it done and getting out. And then, on the flip side of that, when they are there, just, upselling and making sure people are having a good time and have a drink in front of them and, increasing sales that way.
That's awesome. So it's labor cost wise, you stayed pretty close to where you wanted to be. And I'm assuming that's probably in the 30 range, or is it a little more?
Right now we're creeping around 30, 31. In our best handful of months, it was about 6 or 7 months straight. We were down in the 22s. I'm not sure how.
Oh my God.
I was loving every second of it.
Yeah, no doubt. That's amazing. Yeah. And so let me flip that over then. How about your food and beverage costs and dealing with shortages and things like that? How has that impacted you? And what are you guys doing to overcome it?
Food has been a little bit tougher for us. I think it's a combination of our concept, just kind of, tracking waste and making sure everything is being served as efficient as possible. I think the other side of that is just me being young and inexperienced, and, trying to learn kind of everything at once. And so naturally, things are going to be picked up quicker. Things are going to be picked up a little bit slower. But we still, hover around anywhere between 32 and 35. So nothing terrible. Whereas liquor, we've been great. That was kind of my priority, being that when I came down there as a GM, my main focus was the bar, because it was something that I was super inexperienced in. And I knew, being in a college town, it was kind of the main attraction. That's, the younger folks are looking for a place to drink. So I really wanted to make sure we were executing that correctly. we've pretty much been around 19 or 20 for the last about year and a half or now. So going really well on the bar side of things.
That's awesome, man. That's awesome. Now, what is your? I'm just curious, and if you know, and you probably do, the kind of the food to liquor splits.
Sure.
How does that work with you guys?
So it definitely it changes if you zone in and you're looking at particular days, particular times. But overall, throughout the week, we're sitting about 65% of liquor, and then that would be 35% food.
And is that was that the target area that you guys had established early on, or was there a target?
Honestly, there wasn't really a target. It seemed in the beginning that the food was what was bringing people in. It was more of a restaurant type bar. But we opened up in October, and we didn't have that patio season that I was talking about up until that following spring, being that we're in Minnesota. So in the beginning, I think that a lot of customers didn't really understand what we were going to be. Just our inside our bar seats about 12 people comfortably, and then we have 16 tables. The majority of those are bigger 6 top tables, but we have a few 2 top tables. So the inside is not big by any means.
Yeah.
When you walk in, it doesn't necessarily feel like a place where you're gonna pack it in with a bunch of people and everyone's going to be drinking. But as the years have gone on and we've gotten more popular and the college kids have realized, hey, this bar's kind of cool, let's go there, it's quickly shifted. So now we're trying to keep that same momentum on the alcohol side, but still make sure that our regulars and the families in town and the older groups know that, hey, you can still come in here and eat. It's not just a crazy party spot. We still want to deliver that dine-in experience as well.
Yeah, it's very similar to a restaurant right across the street from me. It's a bar restaurant, and the early crowd, about 5:30, 6 o'clock, on Thursday, Friday, Saturday is more family.
Yep.
And it's more of a dine-in, come in and eat kind of thing. Maybe they have a glass of wine or a couple of beers, but
Sure.
Then by about 9 or 10 o'clock, the young folks come.
Yep.
And they start rolling in, and it's very little food and all about drinking. So
100%.
Yeah, it sounds very similar to kind of what you guys are kind of having to or experiencing. So you got to keep both sides, be at the top of your game on both sides, because you don't want to lose either, right?
Exactly, 100%.
Yeah, and the wait staff, front of house, they need gives them longer hours and more opportunity to earn tips and all that good stuff as well.
Definitely.
Very interesting, man. I'm learning stuff from you already, and I'm an old guy. But hey, let me ask you, since you've have been running the place and trying to grow the business and reach different audiences, from a marketing perspective, what's working, what doesn't work, what are you doing, what are you not doing?
Sure.
Can you give us a little idea of that, because I know a lot of our listeners struggle with, what the hell do I do?
Right.
Do I just do social media? Do I do what? So
yeah, the marketing aspect is honestly my favorite part. It's kind of what really got me to buy in my role at the 507. I would say there's definitely things that we do that don't work at all. But my biggest thing is just finding what sticks and then running off that momentum. Mankato is interesting in the demographic of the town and knowing what avenues to really use, depending on who you're trying to get to. So when we're talking about, anything late night, anything party, drink specials, all that kind of thing, we're heavy on Instagram, Snapchat. We've used TikTok, and then word of mouth. My staff is amazing at buying into the social media aspect. And so if I were to post anything, let's say I'm going to post a New Year's Eve, teaser, whether it's a video, a flyer, whatever, I would bet 75% of my staff is going to share that on their personal social media. which is huge because, they have their own friend groups. They're a part of their own clubs and activities on campus.
Yeah.
And the more people that can see that, the better. I've noticed that when it comes to food and liquor, actual quality pictures of the products work a million times better than any sort of flyer or animation or anything else that you can put out there. I learned that realistically probably around last year is when I started realizing the amount of views and interactions was skyrocketing. Anytime I used actual photos, same thing when you put your actual staff in there. So whether that's, you got some new apparel that you're selling, or even if it's, food or drink or whatever, just have your employee holding it and take a real picture of those people. It's night and day, the amount of interaction that you get. And then on the flip side of that, when it comes to, that older demographic, families, business professionals, whatever it may be, I've noticed that Facebook and our rewards program that sends out direct text to the phone has worked a lot better. Whether that's, a few days out, the day of, it kind of just depends on what you're marketing for. Are you marketing for, some big event that you're trying to lead up to, or is it just some, small daily special that you're kind of trying to kick up a lunch rush or whatever for?
Yeah. So you are open for lunch as well then?
Yep. So we open up at 11 a.m. Monday through Friday, and then Saturday and Sunday we run brunch from 9 a.m. to 3.
Yeah, well, that's interesting because you basically got two demographics that you're working on, and you're using a multitude of different vehicles to be able to reach those two. How do you find the balance? How do you decide? Because you don't have all day to sit there and post stuff, right?
Sometimes it feels like that's what I'm doing, but yeah, it's definitely tough. I try to sit down every single Monday and start my week knowing, okay, what's going on this week? Is there anything going on next week that we need to, create buzz about now? If it's not, like, for example, New Year's Eve, I've been posting about that for a few weeks now. We have a DJ coming in on Friday and Saturday. It's something that I definitely want, those college kids to know about. We're pretty much the only place in town that consistently brings in a DJ on the weekends.
Yeah.
Outside of that, if it's, a football game, or maybe it's, National Vodka Day or something like that, usually I'll just kind of know that the week of, and I will plan out, okay, what time am I posting, where am I posting, and what am I posting? And then that way it's a lot easier, it's a lot more automated, and definitely less stressful.
Well, let me ask you, because you sound like a pro at this. Are you using any kind of like software to help you with that, like Hootsuite or any of that kind of stuff?
So I use a software for SMS text that can all be automated. So normally what I'll do is do that about a week out. Anything over a week out, I usually end up forgetting about it. And so I found the week out is kind of like my sweet spot of kind of staying on top of what we're doing when. I enjoy posting the daily specials just kind of every single day. It's not something that's really needed in a town like Mankato, but for whatever reason, I enjoy doing it. I like making sure that we always have fresh content out. Even if there's nothing special going on that day, at least we're posting about, come in for a Tuesday $4 margarita, even if there's nothing else going on. So I still like to post those. But outside of that, anything, for New Year's Eve or any big event that we put on a Squid Games event a few months ago. Things like that, I like to just organically post myself and just kind of try to engage as many people as possible.
Yeah, that's awesome. I imagine, between you and your staff reposting and sharing and all that you're reaching a whole lot of people. And, I like the fact that you're so into that piece because, for some of us that are a little older, we're not as tech savvy as the younger generations. And, a lot of times owners will rely on other people to kind of do that component, that marketing piece for them. And,
right.
As part of another job. And I just encourage everyone in our space in the restaurant business to, really focus in on the marketing piece because, social media is the thing. And you guys are doing everything, TikTok, you said, Snapchat, Instagram, of course, is a natural. I mean, I really I really like the mix that you got going on and your focus that you've got on it. So I'm sure that's made a big difference in driving revenue to the business.
For sure.
Keeping your staff happy because they get to make money, and that's what they're all about.
100%.
Yeah. Hey, speaking of, you mentioned a minute ago, so let me backtrack. You mentioned high quality photos. I'm just curious, are you taking those yourself, or are you investing in like professional photography?
So the short answer is myself.
Okay.
You
Well,
know, I found that, so we have very, very good lighting at the 507. We're very lucky in you know, the way that we set it up, in that there's definitely parts of the restaurant that we always go to for certain pictures. So that helps a lot. You know, we have, you know, the newer phones, being that we're, you know, younger generation employees. So there's kind of always a newer phone in the restaurant. If I'm not there, I can always bet to text somebody, hey, can you take this type of picture for me? This is what I want it to look like. I can't get down there right now. Just do it when you got some free time.
Yeah.
The other side of that is that my brother is getting into photography, so he has a very nice camera. So if it's anything that's, you know, not just a quick, hey, this is a daily special, this is something that we're trying to build up, he'll bring his camera in for us, and he'll take a nice quality picture or video. He's come in for some of the late nights and just kind of made a quick little recap of the night, so people can say like, oh wow, that bar's busy, that bar's fun, let's check that out next weekend.
Yeah, I like that. That's perfect. I mean, it's great to have a mix of skills and interests and different people who can help. And you know, that's one of the things I've noticed. And I don't, gosh, I don't remember if I popped over to your website in the last few days. I think it was last week when I looked, so I can't remember now. But you know, websites are for restaurants are really important in terms of the picture quality, and
Sure.
because you get those big graphics and things like that. So a lot of folks rely on maybe not as high quality pictures as they should,
Right.
as opposed to, you know, having somebody somewhat professionally do that. And lighting is the key.
Yep.
And if you guys have it, that's great. If you don't, you got to find a way to get it. Maybe get your little light box or something for any of our listeners out there.
Oh yeah, you can get them on
you know,
Amazon for pretty cheap too.
Yep. Yeah, I was looking at those a while back, and definitely it's something you need to invest in, and to be able to get those good quality photos, and they really do make a difference. You see a good cold drink with the, you know, the ice kind of dribbling down the glass, and you're like, and you get a high quality picture of that. It makes your mouth water. I'm thinking about it now, and I'm getting thirsty.
100%.
Yeah, well, that's awesome. So let me switch off of marketing for a second. I'm drilling you really with a lot of questions, but you know, I really appreciate you sharing kind of what you guys are doing and what you found has been helpful to you. I'm curious about your technology that you guys have implemented, from, you know, the POS system to online ordering or mobile tech or QR codes.
Sure.
Can you give me an idea of what y'all are doing technology wise?
Yeah, so we use Cake POS system. We have, so it's honestly the journey that we've taken with the technology, at least when it comes to POS, is actually crazy. This is one of my first obstacles, realizing, okay, something's got to change. We started, like I said, the inside's very small, and we started without the patio starting in October.
Right.
So we had one master POS system behind our bar. When we started, we didn't have any bartenders, servers. We just had, you know, front of the house workers. So we were starting in the middle of hockey season, and for those that don't know, Mankato is a very big hockey school. So all of our sports are Division II. Our hockey teams are Division I, and they're like top 5 teams in the nation every year. And so all of downtown is packed. No matter how busy you are for the rest of the week, you're busy on hockey nights. And so we're doing that with one POS and 3 workers that are making their own drinks and serving their own tables, and not really worried about anything else. Yeah. And so I quickly realized how stressful that can be and how poor service people can get that way. And so we had to figure out, you know, how are we going to make this work logistically? So the first thing we did was, okay, we got to make actual bartenders and actual servers. If you're not a server, you're not going to go behind the bar and make a drink. You're going to bring it in and you're going to wait. So
Yeah.
the first thing I thought was, okay, well, we only have one POS and it's in one spot. So what do we do next? So we got an iPad from Cake POS that allows you to do most of the things the actual POS can do, minus a little minor thing. So that would be, propped up on the side and you're ringing in from the iPad. If you're a server, if you're a bartender, you can use the main POS.
Yeah.
As we started to grow, that quickly wasn't enough. So we got another iPad. And then when the patio opened up and we're sitting, 150 people outside, and we have, our main bars inside, we might have some tables inside. It quickly got hectic again.
Yeah.
So we now have two main like hub POSs, one behind the bar, one stationed where the servers kind of do their thing. And then we also have three small iPads that do the same thing. You can ring those in. You can close checks and things like that. You can split tables. You can take it up to the table if you really want to. So those iPads have been very clutch for us as we've started to grow and quickly realize that, you need efficiency everywhere if you want to be able to turn tables and whatnot.
Yeah. Yeah. Very, very important. And it's amazing how complex and complicated it gets on the POS side, and trying to figure out what the right solutions are,
Sure.
and getting it set up for efficiency, like you said. With being able to make sure everybody's in the kitchen's getting their orders and the bar's getting their orders, and people are able to pay and get out when they're ready to go, keeping
Right.
up with bar tabs. So yeah, it's quite complicated. How about online business? Are you guys doing a lot of takeout delivery?
So we don't do any in-house delivery. We are on DoorDash. DoorDash has been pretty good for us. We don't do any online ordering. We do takeout, but it would all be over the phone for call-in. We jump started online ordering during the period where everything was takeout. So that would have been pretty much all of last year's winter. Minnesota wasn't allowing any dine-in. Everything was takeout only.
Yeah.
We jump started some online ordering, and it just really didn't take off much. I think it was because we would have been in year 2 at that point with
Yeah.
no online ordering, and everyone was just kind of accustomed to calling in. And so we just took it away, and we knew that our clientele was fine calling in, and that it wasn't really an asset for us to have an online ordering option. Hopefully at some point in the future it does become, an asset, but for the time being it's just strictly DoorDash and online takeout or call-in takeout.
Yeah. Got it. Well, there's no problem with that. You figure out what works, and that's what you go with. And they used to invest the effort and the money into things that haven't worked for you. But like you said, you got to always be open, because who knows what will happen next. We may get another of this dang Corona crap.
Right.
Kind of looking like it's heading in the wrong direction again. So I was watching news this morning, and just made me nervous. I'm like, oh crap.
You and me both.
Yeah. Here we go again. But anyway, we can keep our fingers crossed and hope that doesn't happen. If it does, like you said, you've kind of had to adjust to that online, or not online, but takeout business in the past. So you can do it again if you have to. It's just be a shame to lose the ability to have all the fun that you guys are having at the 507.
For sure.
Oh man, well it's I just looked down at my clock, and I realized I've talked your ears off, and went for just a little while now. So I guess I ought to get close to wrapping this thing up and letting you get ready for the day. Anything that you wanted to share that maybe I hadn't asked you about or mentioned yet?
Let's see. I think we really touched on most aspects of it. I would say, I guess, the biggest thing for me was just realizing that nothing's gonna work if you don't just go out and do it. There's been many times where, I'm either talking to my staff or I'm talking to, my brothers, kind of that upper management circle, and, should we do this? Should we do that?
Yeah.
And we've cycled back to many things. And if we would have, just pulled the trigger at the time that that we originally brought it up, who knows where we could be, you know? So my biggest thing is just never really thinking a goal is too big or, you know, something's too expensive or out of reach. Obviously that's within reason, but the times that we finally just pulled the trigger and said, this is what we're going to do, this is what we're going to buy into, we've had really good results. And so, for the rest of my, you know, restaurant building career, I just want to make sure that I'm staying true to going all in on things and not, you know, letting say, oh, maybe that won't work, or maybe, you know, they're going to think that's stupid, or no one's going to show up. I don't want to do this big, huge thing, and then it doesn't work. Like, for example, the last thing we did was go all in and decorating the inside, and I guess the outside as well, with Christmas decorations. And obviously, I'm sure, you know, like, Christmas decorations aren't cheap.
No.
And so I didn't want to do this big, huge thing and then have nobody come in and have it be a slow winter and just throw all that money down the drain. And I was like, you know what, let's just do it. If it works, it works. If it doesn't, it doesn't. And there's been a really good response. So
yeah, that's awesome. Also good social media pics, right?
exactly, 100%.
Yeah. We've decorated. Get yourself back in here and check it out. I'm sure it brought the families, and you know, try to pick up some of that lunch and early dinner crowd. So that's
100%.
awesome. And there is one thing I didn't ask you, and that is kind of what's next for the 507. Do you guys have any expansion plans or anything like that kind of on the table at the moment?
Yeah, so I guess I have a few different goals for 2022. I definitely want to increase brunch to the level that I think it can get to. In the spring and the summer, it's great. Fall, pretty good. Winter, we slow down a little bit. But I know that we haven't even scratched the surface of where we can be in terms of brunch. You know, my partner's main location is the #1 spot for breakfast in town. That's kind of their bread and butter. All week, people are in there for breakfast. Yeah. Outside of that, we have a Perkins in town, but outside of that, those are the only 2 spots. So I know that market is kind of still untouched right now, and I would love to fully get our clientele to dive in on brunch. So that's kind of my main goal is building that up while, you know, maintaining that dine-in time, maintaining the late night crowd that we're getting with the college kids, and just continue to execute that. Way down the road, I would love somehow if we could winterize our patio, whether that's a retractable roof or something. Obviously, you know, that's a pricey project, but if we can get people on our patio year round and not have weather be a factor, that would be huge for us. And
that would be, and you know, the payback on that, you could figure pretty quickly on, well, once you get a cost on what it would, you know, what the expense would be to put it up. But yep, you look at your summer months and, you know, the revenue per night at the, you know, on the outside, you track that bad boy and the profitability, and then look for the payback. Right. I bet you, I mean, that's a great idea. I've never even thought about like a retractable roof on a bar patio, but yeah, hell, it's Minnesota, man. You got to have it.
100%, 100%.
Yeah. I mean, the drop off between outdoor money between the summer and winter is probably pretty dramatic, and
pretty thick.
yeah. Just a matter of how many thousands and thousands of dollars it would cost to put that up. But great idea, brother. I love it. Well, I want to say thank you for myself as well as for our listeners for, you know, you coming on, Isaiah, and sharing all your expertise that you've already built up in a young career in this restaurant space, and having run and built up the 507 again in Mankato, Minnesota, for those who are listening. You know, thank you for coming on and sharing your wisdom with us. I really appreciate it.
Yeah, thanks for having me.
You are very welcome. And for all our listeners, you know, we want to thank you guys as well for coming on and listening to another episode of the Local Leaders Podcast. I'm your host, Jeff Johnson, and I'm going to sign off for today, and we'll see you tomorrow. Thank you.